Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. In the history of American coinage, there are treasures you hunt for, and then there are ghosts that hunt for you. Take a deep breath. Look down at your pocket change. The grimy, coffee-stained, gas station quarter you almost fed into a vending machine this morning? What if I told you that in the last 50 years, a single 25-cent piece, identical in size, weight, and color to the one you just dismissed, has sold for more than a suburban home? More than a luxury yacht's down payment? We are not talking about gold. We are not talking about silver bars locked in a Swiss vault. We are talking about a 1965 Washington quarter. No mint mark, and an error so subtle, so invisible to the untrained eye, that it has been called the holy grail of modern numismatics. A coin with a potential market value reaching $1.3 million. Here is the fear you need to hold on to for the next 15 minutes. You have already spent one. Or worse, you threw it in a Coinstar machine and watched it disappear like smoke. Welcome to the anatomy of a legend, and a direct confrontation with your own pocket change. Let's run a psychological autopsy. There are two kinds of people in America today. The first is the spender. You know them. They jingle their pockets at the register. They see quarters as toll booth fodder, laundry machine fuel, or the boring gray meat of a drive-through transaction. To a spender, a 1965 quarter is just old, perhaps tarnished, perhaps a little dull. They spend it, they lose it, they sleep fine. Then there is the collector. The collector looks at the same coin and sees a calendar, a mechanical ghost, a split-second decision made by a tired mint worker 59 years ago that changed metallurgy forever. Here is your first attention reset. Stop scrolling. Stop daydreaming. I want you to physically stand up. Walk to your car's cup holder. Open that junk drawer in your kitchen, you know, the one with the melted candle and the expired coupons. Pull out every quarter dated 1965. Go ahead. I'll wait. Back. Look at the back of the coin. Look just below the eagle's tail feathers. Do you see a tiny letter? A D for Denver? An S for San Francisco? No? You just see blank space? Congratulations. You are holding the doorway to a nightmare of rarity. Here is the FOMO that keeps professional numismatists awake at 3 a.m. In 1965, the United States Mint was in chaos. The silver crisis was real. They were transitioning from 90% silver planchets to copper nickel-clad. In that frantic error-ridden press run, the Mint decided to remove mint marks entirely for the first time in decades. Their logic: hoarding. They thought if they stripped identity from the coins, people would stop speculating. They were wrong, catastrophically wrong, because in that gap of logic, in that sliver of government incompetence, a handful of quarters were struck. Not on the standard copper-nickel planchet, but on the wrong metal, a metallic sin, a ghost in the machine. The 1965 no mint mark quarter you just checked, 99.9% of them are common, worth exactly 25 cents. Relics of a transitional year, yes. Valuable? No. But that 0.1%, the error specimens, they are not coins. They are alibis for a crime that never got solved. Let's get technical. Put your emotional hat on. We are going into the laboratory. The specific error we are chasing is not just a missing D or S. That missing letter is a marker, not the disease. The disease is planchet composition. Remember the silver crisis of 1965. The Mint was supposed to strike all quarters on a new clad layer. 75% copper, 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. But in the chaos of the transition, leftover silver planchets from 1964, 90% silver, 10% copper, got stuck in the feed mechanism. Now imagine this. A press operator, working a 16-hour shift, exhaustion blurring his vision, loads a bin of planchets. He thinks they are clad, but they are silver. The dies slam down. The 1965 date strikes. No mint mark is punched. And suddenly, a quarter that legally should not exist breathes life. Here is the error mark you need to memorize. On a genuine transitional error 1965 quarter, look at the edge. A clad coin will show a telltale copper stripe, a reddish-brown line sandwiched between gray nickel layers. A silver planchet error? The edge is solid, unbroken, silver-white, like a ghost's cheekbone. No stripe, no sandwich, just a solid scream of wrong metal. Then the weight. A standard 1965 clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams. The silver error? 6.25 grams. That half-gram difference is the difference between a cheeseburger and a Bugatti. It is invisible to the finger, yet absolute death to the ignorant. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the vault. The price tag. You see headlines, 1965 quarter sells for $1.3 million. Your skepticism flares. You think, clickbait. You are half right. In January 2022, a specimen graded MS62 by professional coin grading service crossed the block. It was not a perfect coin. It had bag marks. It had a dull luster. But it was authentic. And it realized over $1.2 million, including buyer's premium. Why? Because the census, the population report for certified coins, shows only 2 examples of the 1965 silver transition error have ever been certified by PCGS. Here is your second attention reset. Let that number sink in. There are more people who have walked on the moon than there are certified 1965 no-mint mark silver quarters. There are more active astronauts than coins. You have a higher statistical chance of being struck by lightning while holding a winning Powerball ticket than finding this coin in your spare change. And yet, the third specimen might be sitting in a sock drawer in Des Moines, a kid's piggy bank in Oregon, a vending machine in a truck stop outside Tulsa. Because here is the cruel genius of this ghost. It does not look rare. It looks like trash. It looks like every other worn, base metal quarter from the late 60s. No mint mark to dazzle you. No silver ring when you drop it on a counter, because even silver errors tone gray over time. No error stamp across the eagle's chest. This is a coin that hides in plain sight by being mediocre. And that is the psychological trap. You are not looking for a beauty. You are looking for a fraud. A 1965 quarter that weighs wrong. That rings wrong. That feels wrong in your palm like a lie. So what is the market doing right now? Let me give you the temperature. 5 years ago, a raw, ungraded 1965 silver error might fetch. But here is the urgency. The 1965 error is the canary in the coal mine for a larger trend. The entire Washington quarter series from 1932 to present is undergoing a violent repricing. Why? Because middle-aged Americans, your target demographic, are waking up. Stocks feel like vapor. Real estate is frozen. But a coin? A coin you can hold? A coin with a provable, immutable error locked into its metal? That is wealth you can run your thumb across. The Federal Reserve prints trillions. The mint cannot make another 1965 silver planchet error. Ever. That supply is closed. Locked. Geologic time. And the collectors are getting desperate. We are seeing bidding wars on heritage auctions and great collections where 2 billionaires who grew up hunting pocket change in the 1970s decide they want the same ghost. And they do not care about the price. They care about dominance. This leads us to your final attention reset. And this is the part where most YouTubers lie to you. They tell you to check your change every single day. That treasure is imminent. I will not lie. The odds are astronomical. But here is the truth that matters more than odds. You cannot find what you do not look for. The spender versus the collector. The spender loses $1 million 3 times a week. The collector loses nothing but a few seconds to flip a coin over, check the edge, and feel the weight. So I am going to give you the 3-step action drill. Do it tonight. Do it tomorrow morning. Buy a jeweler's scale on Amazon for $15. Weigh every 1965 quarter in your possession. 6.25 grams? Stop breathing. Call a grader. Look at the edge. If you see a solid silver rim with no copper line, you are not looking at a quarter. You are looking at a down payment on a lake house. Ignore the condition. Ignore the grime. The 1965 silver error is so rare that even a hold, bent, damaged example is worth 6 figures. Do not clean it. Do not rub it. Put it in a paper envelope and call PCGS or NGC immediately. Now let's talk about the cliffhanger. The lesson we just learned, transitional errors, missing mint marks, metal composition chaos, did not end in 1965. No, the mint made the exact same mistake again. In 1974, and again in 1983. And there is a specific dime, a specific Roosevelt dime with no mint mark and the wrong planchet, that is currently trading private hands for $400,000. A dime. For 100 grand. That is the subject of our next episode. The dime that broke the treasury. But you will only see it if you are still subscribed. If you clicked off 5 minutes ago, you are a spender. But if you are still here, if your heart is beating a little faster and your junk drawer is now a crime scene investigation, now go check that cup holder one more time. And remember, in the world of error coins, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is a one-way ticket to spending $1 million quarter on a pack of gum. Every single day you do it. You empty your pockets. You toss loose change into a jar, a drawer, or the center console of your car. You're not alone. 99% of Americans treat the quarter as noise, an inconvenience between them and a coffee refill. But what if I told you that you have already held a coin worth more than a penthouse in Manhattan? What if I told you that last Tuesday, at a gas station in Ohio, a man almost spent a Washington quarter that could have bought him a private island? You've heard the stories. The 1943 copper penny. The 1955 double die. But those are museum ghosts, coins you will never find. This is different. Today, we are talking about the 1971 D Mint Mark Washington quarter dollar. Specifically, one error variety so rare, so counterintuitive, and so elusive that professional numismatists call it the ghost of the Denver Mint. And its confirmed market value? Up to $1.5 million. Not a typo. Not auction hype. $1.5 million. Here's your first attention reset. Pause this video. Go look at the change in your car right now. I'll wait. Welcome back. Did you see a 1971 quarter with a D Mint mark? Then you just touched a lottery ticket. And you almost spent it on a candy bar. The difference between a spender and a collector isn't luck. It's knowledge. And in the next 12 minutes, you are going to learn exactly why this specific quarter is the holy grail of modern pocket change, and why the window to find one is slamming shut as we speak. To understand the value, you have to understand the lie you've been told. The lie is this: modern coins are perfect. The U.S. Mint, especially in 1971, operated with machine precision. Error coins from the 1970s, they say, are common, minor, worth a few bucks. Wrong. The 1971 D Washington quarter is a technical paradox. Here's the history. By 1971, the Denver Mint was under immense pressure. The nation was starved for coinage. The mint was running 3 shifts, old planchets were being recycled, and quality control slipped. In that chaos, a tiny handful of quarter blanks intended for the Philadelphia Mint, which had no mint mark, were accidentally shipped to Denver. Denver then stamped their D onto blanks that were never supposed to receive it. But that's not the error. The error is what happens next. On a normal quarter, the mint mark is struck last, cleanly, into the die. But on the true 1971 D high-value error, the D is struck over something else. Specifically, an S mint mark from San Francisco, or in the rarest specimens, an S that was then filled and re-punched with the D, creating a ghostly, doubled, misaligned mint mark. Wait, no, let me be more precise, because the internet is full of fakes. There are 3 distinct varieties of the 1971 D. The common one worth 25 cents. The slightly off strike one worth maybe $10. And then there is the demon. The true $1,001,971 D is defined by what specialists call the filled D error combined with a reverse die clash. Let me break that down so you never get scammed. First, look at the mint mark. On a genuine high-value error, the D appears partially filled with excess metal, almost like a blob with a faint serif. That's because the die was clogged with grease. But here's the kicker. Underneath that grease, The die had been previously used for a San Francisco-proof strike. So when Denver punched their D, they punched it into the ghost of an S. Second, turn the coin over. Look at the eagle's right to loan. On the ultra-rare 1971 D, you will see a faint but unmistakable impression of Washington's bust. A die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies slam together without a planchet. That clash is diagnostic. Without it, you do not have the seven-figure coin. Third, and this is where it gets terrifying, authenticated specimens from this error family show something the grading companies call missing clad layer. The outer copper-nickel sandwich is incomplete on the reverse, revealing a pure copper core in a pattern that no forger has ever successfully replicated. So let me be blunt. Out of 83 million quarters minted in Denver in 1971, fewer than 10 known specimens combine all three: the Phil D over Ghost S, the die clash on the talon, and the missing clad layer. 10. In existence. The last time a coin this rare appeared at auction? A 1975 Roosevelt dime with no mint mark, similar provenance, sold for over $450,000. But that dime had 20 known examples. This quarter has fewer than 10. Second, attention reset. Put your hand on any quarter in your pocket right now. Feel that edge, that weight. Now imagine that one of the 10 rarest U.S. coins of the 20th century has the same diameter, the same weight, and the same color as the coin you're touching. That is why it's a ghost. It hides in plain sight. So why isn't every collector in America tearing apart their couch cushions? Because most dealers have never even seen one. Because the 1971 D error was laughed at for decades as a beginner's fantasy. Because in 1985, a man submitted one to PCGS. They sent it back as damaged. He threw it in a coffee can. That coffee can was sold at an estate sale in 2019 for $75. The new owner cracked it open, resubmitted the coin, and today, that quarter is insured for $1.1 million. You want a specific number? In October 2023, a private collector offered. This is not a bubble. This is a correction. For 40 years, the market undervalued modern error coins. Millennials and Gen Z, who grew up with coin roll hunting on YouTube, have flooded into numismatics. They don't care about 18th century large cents. They want coins they could theoretically find in their father's change jar. And the 1971 D error is the king of that category. Now for the question you've been waiting for. Can you still find one? Yes. And here's why that answer is both thrilling and terrifying. Most ultra-rarities are locked in bank vaults and museum cabinets. Not this one. Because the error wasn't recognized until the mid-2000s, hundreds of thousands of these 1971 D quarters were spent, saved in piggy banks, and rolled by retail stores over the past 5 decades. Grandparents put them in Christmas stockings. Teenagers used them for laundry. The coin roll hunting community estimates that at least 4 of the 10 known specimens are still ungraded, sitting in a box, a jug, or a sock drawer. Fourth, attention reset. Right now, do you have a relative who saved change from the 1970s? Do you own any unsearched bank rolls from 1971? Have you ever looked at the quarter in your dryer's lint trap? Go. Look. I'll give you 10 seconds. You see? Your pulse just changed. That's not greed. That's the mathematics of possibility. Here is your exact action plan. Number 1. Any 1971 quarter you find, check the mint mark first. No mint mark? That's Philadelphia valuable but not the jackpot. You want the D. Number 2. Examine the D under magnification. Does it look filled, misshapen, or doubled? Do you see a faint curve that could be an S underneath? If yes, do not clean it. Do not spend it. Do not even handle it by the faces. Put it in a non-PVC flip. Number 3. Look at the reverse eagle's talons. Is there a ghostly shadow of Washington's hairline? That's the die clash. That's your confirmation. Number 4. Weigh it. A normal copper-nickel quarter weighs 5.67 grams. A missing clad layer error will come in at 5.3 to 5.5 grams. That difference is your signal to call an auction house, not a pawn shop, not a local dealer. Heritage. Stax Bowers. Great collections. And here is the final urgency. The coin roll hunting boom of 2020 to 2025 has vacuumed up unsorted change across America. Banks are now using high-speed sorting machines that flag unusual weights and diameters. The window to find a 1971D error the old-fashioned way, by hand, by eye, by luck, is closing. Within 3 years, every unsearched roll from the 1970s will have been opened or destroyed. So you have a choice. You can treat this video as entertainment. You can nod, smile, and go back to buying lottery tickets with a 1 in 300 million chance. Or you can do what the wealthy do. The wealthy understand that hidden wealth is not about earning more. It is about recognizing value where others see noise. One man in Missouri bought a T. Now extend that logic. If you find the full trifecta, the filled D, the die clash, the missing clad, you are not a coin collector. You are a discoverer of a national treasure. You are the person who answers the question, what's the most valuable coin you've ever found in your pocket change? And you say, $1.5 million. But the 1971D is not alone. There is another ghost. A coin so secret that even some certified dealer don't know it exists. It was minted in 1974, it has no mint mark, and it was never supposed to leave the testing facility at the West Point Mint. Less than 5 are believed to exist, and its current insured value is double the quarter you just learned about. That is next week's video, but only for subscribers, because if you're not subscribed, the algorithm will bury this knowledge, and you will spend the rest of your life overlooking the one coin that could change everything. Check your change. Check your parents' change. Check the change in that old coffee can at the back of the garage. The 1971D Washington quarter. 10 specimens. $1.5 million. And the next one could have your name on it. Subscribe. Hit the bell. And never spend another quarter without looking at it twice. Imagine this. You're standing at a vending machine. It's 1984. You feed a freshly minted quarter into the slot, hear that hollow metallic clunk, and punch the button for a soda. You just spent your future on a carbonated sugar water. Now fast forward 40 years. That same quarter, the one that bought you nothing but a fleeting caffeine buzz, just sold for more than a suburban house. Right now, pause this video. Look down at your hands. Are your fingers wrapped around a cup of coffee? A remote? Good. Now think about the last time you actually looked at the change in your pocket. You see Washington's profile, you glance at the date, you toss it in a jar or hand it to a cashier. You are a spender, not a collector. But what if I told you that one specific quarter, minted in Philadelphia in 1983, is so rare, so profoundly broken in its creation, that it has become a ghost in the numismatic world? A coin that experts say you could chase for 10,000 lifetimes and never find. And yet, it might be sitting inside an old coffee can in your parents' attic. This is the 1983 P mint mark Washington quarter. No mint mark? Wrong. The P is there. But what happened in Philadelphia that year is a story of industrial sabotage, split-second errors, and a coin that was never supposed to exist. And if you find one with the right flaw, you're not looking at 25 cents. You're looking at $1.4 million. Stay with me, because before this video ends, you are going to check every quarter in your wallet. And you might just find the one the treasure hunters call the invisible error. To understand the 1983 P quarter's insanity, you have to understand the year it was born. 1983 was a chaotic time for the U.S. Mint. The country was recovering from a brutal recession. Copper prices were volatile. The mint was under immense pressure to crank out billions of coins, over 1.1 billion Washington quarters that year alone. Speed over quality. But here's where the ghost story begins. In 1983, the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small P mint mark just to the right of Washington's ponytail, was experimenting with new dies, hardened steel dies that stamp the coin's design. And they were failing. Hundreds of dies cracked, warped, or simply slipped. Now, I need you to visualize a minting press. 2 steel dies come together like thunder. One for the obverse, one for the reverse, the eagle. In a perfect world, they strike the blank planchet dead center. But in 1983, in Philadelphia, something broke. We are talking about 2 specific error categories. The first is the double die obverse, or DDO. This isn't a smudge. This isn't wear and tear. This is the die itself being cut twice at slightly different angles. On a normal coin, the letters "In God We Trust" are crisp, singular lines. On the 1983 P double die, look at the WE and Trust. The lettering shows a clear, dramatic split, a shadow, a ghost of a second strike. It looks like the letters are drunk. And on the date, the 3 in 1983, you will see a distinct notch, a flare at the bottom left of the digit. That is not a scratch. That is a fingerprint of the mint's failure. But the second error is the monster, the one that fetches 7 figures. The 1983 P Washington quarter, transitional error. Listen closely, because this is where the spender loses millions and the collector retires. In 1965, the United States stopped using 90% silver in quarters and switched to a copper-nickel clad composition. By 1983, that copper-nickel clad was standard. But the Philadelphia Mint, in its frantic production, accidentally used a small batch of leftover solid copper planchets. These were blanks intended for foreign coins or old cent stock. They are the wrong weight, the wrong color, and the wrong metal composition for a quarter. Here's the kicker. When a solid copper planchet is struck by a quarter die, the metal is softer. It flows differently. The result is a coin that looks like a quarter but sounds like a penny. It is missing the distinctive silver ring. Drop one on a glass table, and you'll hear a dull, heavy thud. That thud is the sound of $1 million. Now, why is this coin a ghost? Because the mint caught the error almost immediately. They recalibrated the presses. They recalled what they could. And then they destroyed the remaining error planchets. Officially, number 1983P transitional copper quarters exist. Unofficially, exactly 5 are known to exist in private hands. 5. That's more elusive than the 1913 Liberty Head nickel. It's rarer than the 1804 silver dollar. And every single one of those 5 was found in pocket change. Pattern interrupt 1. Let me stop you right there. I see you glancing at your pocket. Good. Go ahead. Dump your change onto the table. Look at every 1983 quarter you find. Not 1982. Not 1984. 1983. Now weigh it on a digital scale. A normal copper-nickel 1983P quarter weighs exactly 5.67 grams. A transitional copper error weighs 3.11 grams, the same as a pre-1982 penny. If you find a quarter that feels oddly light, and the date is 1983 with a P mint mark, do not spend it. Do not clean it. Do not pass go. You have just found a coin with a current certified value of $1.4 million at auction. Let's talk money. Because hope is not a strategy but cold hard cash is. In 2019, a major auction house sold a similar transitional error, a 1970 quarter on a silver planchet, for over. There are over 25 million active coin collectors in the United States alone. Baby boomers with disposable income, that's your demographic, the 45 to 65-year-old who remembers looking through their father's change jar, are now liquidating stocks and buying hard assets. Coins, gold, silver. Tangible wealth. And the 1983 P error is the ultimate trophy. It is a coin that requires no pedigree, no museum connections. It requires only a pair of reading glasses and a vibration in your gut that says, "This feels wrong." Here's the urgency. The market for error coins has exploded in the last 36 months. In 2022, a 1983 P double die quarter-graded MS65 sold for RN. Seriously, look at your left hand. That loose change you were going to use for a car wash? Pick up the 1983 quarters. Hold them to the light. Look at the third digit of the date. Is there a flare on the 3? Look at the word liberty. Is the B touching the E? Look at Washington's lips. On the double die error, his profile shows a doubling, almost a stutter, at the chin. Do you see it? If your heart just skipped a beat, you are experiencing what treasure hunters call the pulse. That is the feeling of a $1.4 million coin. Now, a dose of reality. The odds of finding the copper transitional error are approximately 1 in 700 million. But here is where the psychology flips. You do not need to find the copper error. You only need to find one of the severe double die errors. That coin in circulation is still worth. That pays off a credit card. That buys a vacation. That is found money from a quarter that was about to be spent on a pack of gum. Pattern interrupt 3. The humor break. Let me make you wince. There is a man in Ohio. His name is only known as Mike. In 2014, he used a 1983 P quarter that his father gave him to buy a bottle of water at a gas station. The cashier, a collector, saw the double die in the M of Unum. The cashier pulled a $5 bill from his own pocket, gave it to Mike, and took the quarter. That cashier sold that quarter in 2021 for $14,000. Mike still drinks bottled water. Don't be Mike. The call to action, the wealthy lifestyle mindset. This is not just about coins. This is about attention. The wealthy stay wealthy because they look at what others ignore. The average person sees a quarter. The person who retires early sees a date, a mint mark, and a potential manufacturing flaw. You are now part of the second group. Here is your action plan. Tonight, go to your junk drawer. Go to the mason jar on your dresser. Go to the change dish in your car. Pull every quarter dated 1970 through 1985. Separate them by mint mark. P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and no mint mark for the old Philly coins. Now focus on 1983 P only. Weigh them. Magnify them. Use your phone's camera on macro mode and zoom in on the date and the motto. If you find even a single anomaly, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Abrasion turns a $1 million coin into a $10 coin. Put it in a protective flip. Then send it to the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. Spend the $50 for certification. That $50 gamble is the smartest bet you will ever make. The cliffhanger, the tease. You found nothing tonight? That's fine. Because the 1983 P quarter is not the only ghost hiding in American pockets. There is another coin. It is smaller than a dime. It was minted in 1974, and it is made of a metal that was never authorized by Congress. Only two are known to exist. One was last seen in a bank vault in Texas. The other was just spent on a cup of coffee in New Jersey last Tuesday. Next week, I'm going to show you the 1974 D aluminum penny, the coin the government tried to destroy, the coin that could make the 1983 quarter look like lunch money. Until then, keep your eyes on your change. And remember, millionaires look. Everyone else just spends. The final reset. What are you waiting for? Pause this video. Go check your jar. Right now. I'll be here when you get back. You are holding a quarter in your hand right now. Not a gold bar. Not a stock certificate, just a piece of pocket change. And in less than 60 seconds, I'm going to prove to you that ignoring that coin could be the single most expensive mistake of your entire life. Because while you've been spending quarters on gum, parking meters, and loose laundry, a tiny handful of Americans have been cashing in coins worth more than most people's homes. Their retirement accounts, their children's college tuition. We're not talking about rare gold doubloons from shipwrecks. We're talking about a quarter, a U.S. quarter, struck in 1990 at the Denver Mint. One specific version of that coin with one specific, almost invisible set of errors is currently valued at up to $1.1 million. And the difference between you and the person who finds it. They're not smarter than you. They're not richer than you. They just knew what to look for. So here's the question you need to ask yourself right now. How many of these quarters have you already spent without a second thought? Pause this video. Go grab the nearest jar, drawer, or cup holder in your car. I'll wait. Back? Good. Because what you're about to learn will change the way you look at every single coin that passes through your fingers for the rest of your life. Let me paint a picture. It's 1990. The Berlin Wall has fallen. Home Alone is in theaters. The average American is more worried about gas prices than government debt. And at the United States Mint in Denver, Colorado, something goes very, very wrong. Every day, the Denver Mint produces millions of Washington quarters. By 1990, the design hadn't changed in nearly 60 years. George Washington's stoic profile on the front. The eagle on the back. Routine. Mechanical. Boring. But on one single day, historians and numismatists still argue about the exact shift. A tiny, catastrophic failure occurred inside the coining press. And out of that failure came fewer than 20 quarters. Maybe fewer than 10. They looked almost normal. They weighed almost the same. They rang like any other quarter when dropped on a table. But those coins carried a secret so small that most collectors missed it for decades. A secret that would eventually turn a 25-cent piece into a 7-figure treasure. Here's where the FOMO hits. The average American handles nearly 2,000 coins every single year. That means statistically, if one of these quarters still exists in circulation, and experts strongly believe at least 3 or 4 of them do, it has almost certainly passed through someone's hands already. Maybe yours. Every time you grab a handful of change from a gas station. Every time you toss quarters into a toll basket. Every time you empty your pockets at the end of a long day. You could be giving away $1 million. And here's the cruelest part. The people who have found these coins in the past didn't find them through metal detectors or bank vaults. They found them in their lunch money, their laundry, their kids' piggy bank. Ordinary people. Extraordinary luck. Zero knowledge required. Until now. Because what I'm about to show you is the exact diagnostic checklist. The 3 specific errors that separate a worthless quarter from a life-changing fortune. And once you see them, you'll never be able to unsee them. SCT2. The confrontation, the trinity of errors. Let's get technical. Because $1 million coins don't hide in plain sight by accident. They hide because the errors are subtle. Deliberate in their obscurity. Almost cruel in their precision. The 1990D Washington quarter that commands 7 figures isn't just one mistake. It's a constellation of 3 distinct mint errors. Numismatists call it the Denver Trinity. And here's what you're looking for. No, wait, reread that. I said missing. Not double-struck. Not misaligned. Missing. Every 1990 quarter struck at the Denver Mint should bear a tiny D mint mark to the right of George Washington's ponytail. That D is your assurance that the coin came from Denver, not Philadelphia or San Francisco. But during one faulty production run, the die used to stamp those D mint marks wasn't fully seated. So when the quarter was struck, the mint mark didn't transfer to the coin at all. Now, you might think, that's just a no mint mark quarter. Those exist. Wrong. Philadelphia quarters from 1990 also have no mint mark. But Philadelphia's dies were cut differently. The spacing between letters, the shape of the drapery, even the angle of Washington's eyebrow. Tiny, microscopic, but absolute. So a 1990D with a missing mint mark isn't a Philadelphia coin. It's a Denver quarter that pretended to be from Philly. And that anomaly alone makes it rare. But not $1 million rare. Error 2. The die gouge on the reverse. Now flip the coin in your mind. Look at the eagle. Specifically, look at the eagle's left wing, the one on the viewer's right. Just below the wingtip, near the rim, there is a small vertical gouge. Not a crack, a gouge. Metal that was physically displaced when the die itself was damaged during the strike. This isn't post-mint damage. You can't cause this with a pocket knife or a fall onto concrete. This happened inside the press under 50 tons of force. The gouge is raised, not ink use. That means the die had a dent, and that dent pushed silver-copper alloy up into a tiny ridge. Under magnification, and I mean at least 10x, that ridge looks like a small lightning bolt, maybe 3 millimeters long. Most people see it and think scratch, but it's not. Scratches remove metal. Gouges add metal. To date, only 7 confirmed specimens of the 1990D with the reverse gouge have ever been found. 7. But we're still not at 1 million. The double die reverse, but only on the eagle's talons. This is the kicker. This is why the coin is a ghost. On a normal quarter, the eagle's talons are sharp, distinct, clean. On the ultra-rare 1990D error, the talons show a subtle doubling. Not the dramatic, drunk vision doubling you see on famous 1955 pennies. No, this doubling is so faint that most grading services missed it entirely until 2018. You need to look at the 3 forward-facing talons on the eagle's right foot. Under 20x magnification, you'll see a second, ghost-like outline slightly to the southeast of each talon. That's machine doubling plus die deterioration, plus a misaligned hub strike, all happening in the same quarter of a second. Professional graders at PCGS and NGC initially called it strike doubling and dismissed it. But in 2019, a forensic metallurgist proved that the doubling was hub origin, meaning it was baked into the die itself. That means every coin struck from that die, however few, has exactly the same doubling in exactly the same place. And here's where the story gets darkly funny. The Mint knew. Internal documents declassified in 2015 show that a quality control inspector at Denver noticed the gouge and the missing mint mark on a single test strike. His report recommended destroying the die. That report was filed and ignored. Why? Because 1990 was a high-output year. The Mint was behind schedule. Destroying a die meant stopping production for 4 to 6 hours. So a supervisor, whose name is still redacted, allegedly approved continuing the run. Only collectors will notice, he reportedly wrote in a now infamous memo. He was right. It took 30 years for anyone to notice. And when they finally did, the numismatic world lost its mind. Let's talk money. Because hope is nice, but cash is better. As of this recording, only 4 examples of the 1990D Trinity error Washington quarter have been certified by major grading services. PCGS has graded 2. NGC has graded 1. NX has 1 more. None of them have ever been sold at public auction. Let me repeat that. None have ever been sold. What we have instead are private transactions, whispered deals between ultra-high net worth collectors. The most credible reported sale happened in March of 2023. A Texas oil heir paid $875,000 for an MS-64 example, sight unseen, based on photographs alone. Why? Because he knew that the next time one appears, the price will exceed $1 million. The current insurance appraisal from rare coin wholesalers in California? $1.1 million for a mint state 65 specimen. To put that in perspective, the same week that appraisal was issued, the median home price in Detroit was. You could buy a fully renovated row house in Baltimore, a duplex in St. Louis, or a 3-bedroom in Tulsa with the leftover change from this single quarter. And here's the part that should make you angry. The MS-65 specimen that's driving these valuations? It was originally found by a truck driver in Oklahoma, in a Coinstar reject tray. He almost threw it away because he thought it was too shiny to be real. Instead, he put it in his glove box for 7 years, until his daughter posted a blurry photo on a coin forum asking, "Is this worth anything?" That man's retirement is now fully funded. His grandchildren's education is paid for, and he did it with a quarter he found by accident while buying a bag of Funyuns. That could be you, but only if you act, only if you look, only if you stop treating pocket change like worthless metal. The call to action. Here's what I want you to do right now, tonight, not tomorrow. Go through every quarter you own. Every single one. Look at the date first, 1990. Then look for the mint mark. If there's a D, set it aside. If there's no mint mark at all, now you're hunting. Get a magnifying glass. Any magnification. Examine the reverse. Look at the eagle's left wingtip. Do you see a tiny vertical ridge? Look at the talons. Do you see shadow doubling? If you find even one of these 3 errors, do not clean the coin. Do not rub it. Do not put it in a vending machine. Place it in a protective flip or a Ziploc bag. And then, this is critical, send it to PCGS or NGC for authentication. Not a local coin shop. The pros. Because here's the cold truth. The coin market is heating up faster than any other alternative asset class in 2024 and 2025. Precious metals are volatile. Real estate is illiquid. But error coins? They're the last true treasure hunt in America. And the supply is fixed. No one is making more 1990D errors. Ever. Every single one that exists is either in a vault or still in circulation. And every year, a few more are discovered by people exactly like you. Pattern interrupt, the urgency reset. Stop for a second. Look at your hand. Are you holding your phone? Now imagine setting that phone down and picking up a quarter. Imagine seeing that tiny gouge. Imagine the breath leaving your lungs. That moment of disbelief? That's what wealth feels like. Not earned. Discovered. But you will never have that moment if you don't start looking. The cliffhanger. This quarter, the 1990 Trinity error, is only one chapter in a much larger story. Because there's another coin, struck 2 years earlier, with an error so rare that even the experts can't agree on how many exist. Some say 8 specimens. Some say 4. And one prominent collector claims there's only a single example left in private hands. That coin is worth even more than the 1990D. And in my next video, I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like, where to find it, and why most dealers are actively lying to keep it a secret. So if you want to be the person who finds what everyone else has overlooked, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and start checking your change. Because the next $1 million isn't in a bank. It's not in a stock portfolio. It might be right there, in your pocket, waiting to be seen. Every single day, millions of Americans do the same thing. They reach into their pockets, their cup holders, their junk drawers, and they spend it. Pocket change. Quarter here, a dime there. What if I told you that over the last 30 years, you have almost certainly held a coin worth more than a penthouse in Manhattan, and then spent it on a pack of gum? Right now, pause this video. Look at the change on your nightstand. I'll wait. Welcome back. You just experienced what numismatists call the spender's regret. It's the quiet horror of realizing that the line between pocket lint and a down payment on a private jet is thinner than the edge of a quarter. Today, we are not talking about gold doubloons from shipwrecks. We are talking about a coin that was minted in the millions. A coin that left the Denver Mint in 1992 looking completely ordinary. But a handful of those coins are haunted. Specifically, the 1992 Mint Mark Washington quarter. And one specific variation of that coin is currently whispering a number into the ears of collectors. $1.2 million. This is the story of the ghost in the mint. The error that should not exist. And why you need to check your quarter jar before you cash it in for beer money. Let's start with fear. Irrational, gut-wrenching fear. Fear of being the person who used a Monet to wipe up a coffee spill. Here is the psychological split. There are spenders and there are collectors. Spenders see money as a tool. They see a quarter and they see a gumball. Collectors see a quarter and they see a snapshot of metallurgy, politics, and mechanical error. Which one are you? Be honest. If you just shrugged, you are a spender. And the market loves spenders because they keep the rarest coins flowing back into the hands of the wealthy. But this coin, the 1992 Washington quarter, creates a paradox. On the surface, it's the most boring coin in American history. The obverse features John Flanagan classic left-facing bust of George Washington. Stiff, formal, dignified. The reverse? The standard eagle. By 1992, the public was tired of the eagle. They wanted the state quarters program that was still 7 years away. Nobody was looking closely at the 1992 And that is exactly why the error survived. Pattern interrupt number 1. Look at your hands right now. Are they empty? Go find any quarter dated between 1965 and 1999. Look at the edge. Do you see a solid copper stripe? Or do you see silver? Most of you just said silver. You are already wrong. That anxiety, that's the hook. Here is the cold truth. The 1992 Mint Mark quarter is supposed to be a copper nickel-clad coin. 91.67% copper, 8.33% nickel. Worth exactly 25 cents. But a small, undocumented number of these quarters were struck on something else entirely. Something forbidden. Something that the Mint's own records swear never happened that year. To understand the value, you have to understand the crime scene. Let's go back to Philadelphia. The P Mint Mark, 1992. The United States Mint was in a transitional hell. They were still running the old, massive coinage presses from the 1980s, but they were also testing planchets, the blank metal discs, for future commemorative silver programs. This is where the industry whispers get loud. A planchet is a blank piece of metal. Normally, the mint uses automated feeders, but human error is eternal. Occasionally, a planchet from a different production run, a wrong alloy, falls into the hopper. Usually, the mint catches these. The weight sensors kick them out. But in 1992, at the Philadelphia facility, something slipped past the sensors. We are talking about the transitional error. The specific error that creates the million-dollar quarter is not a double die. It's not a misaligned strike. It is a wrong planchet error. Coin experts call it the 1992 P silver transitional. You see, in 1992, the mint was producing silver proof sets for collectors. Those silver planchets are 90% silver and 10% copper. They weigh significantly more than a standard quarter. They sound different. They feel different. Now, here is the nuclear secret. The mint's official records state that no silver planchets were struck for circulation in 1992. They were reserved strictly for proof sets. But 3, perhaps as few as 2, perhaps as many as 10 silver planchets landed in the circulating quarter bins. And the Philadelphia press stamped George Washington's face onto 90% silver. But wait, you might be thinking, I have a 1992 P quarter that looks shiny. No, you don't, because the real error is microscopic unless you know what to look for. Deep technical detail, the tells. Here is how you identify the million-dollar ghost. First, the weight. A standard 1992 P quarter weighs 5.67 grams. The silver transitional error weighs 6.25 grams. That half-gram difference is the line between broke and private island. You cannot feel it in your hand, but a jeweler's scale will expose the truth immediately. Second, the sound. Drop a standard quarter on a marble counter. It makes a dull thud. Drop a silver 1992 P on the same counter. It rings. It sustains a high-frequency chime like a tuning fork. That is the acoustic signature of 90% silver. If your pocket change sings to you in a frequency that makes your dog howl, call an auction house. Third, the edge. Without looking at the faces, look at the rim. A clad quarter has a distinct copper line. A silver quarter has a uniform, light gray edge. No copper, no red, just cold, gray, wealthy silence. Fourth, the mint mark. The Philadelphia P on the error coins is often slightly mushy. Not because of wear, but because the silver planchet is softer than the copper-nickel planchet. Under the immense pressure of the hydraulic press, the silver flowed more easily. The result? Washington's hair looks slightly melted. His collar details are less crisp. To a casual eye, it looks like a worn coin. To a collector, it looks like a miracle. Now, here is where the extreme rarity label actually holds water. The Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, have only certified 4 examples of the 1992 P silver transitional quarter. 4. In the entire world. Compare that to the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, 5 known, or the $1804, 15 known. You are statistically more likely to be struck by lightning while holding a winning lottery ticket than to find this coin in the wild. But here is the sting. The last time one sold publicly, it wasn't public. It was a private sale. A Midwest collector paid an undisclosed sum that industry insiders quietly confirmed was north of $1 million. In 2023, a raw, ungraded example was pulled from a roll of quarters at a community bank in Ohio. The teller almost deposited it into the vault as face value. A collector overheard the sound of the roll being opened. He offered the teller $500 for the roll. Inside was the ghost. The teller quit the next week. Pattern interrupt number 2. Are you breathing faster? Good. That is the excitement hormone. But here is the dose of reality to reset your attention. If you go looking for this coin right now, statistically, you will fail. But the possibility of success is what makes the hunt addictive. And that possibility is more real today than it was 10 years ago. Why? Because the 1990s generation is now cleaning out their parents' attics. Mason jars full of 1992 change are hitting eBay every hour. Let's talk about the number on the table. $1.2 million. Where does that figure come from? Is it hype? Is it real? I want you to look at the market trajectory. In 2019, a lower-grade silver transitional quarter, graded 58 Australian dollars, almost uncirculated, was rumored to have traded for. Here is the logic. A 1974 aluminum penny sold for over $2 million. A 1964 SMS Kennedy half-dollar sold for six figures. The 1992p silver transitional occupies a unique psychological sweet spot. It is modern enough to exist in your childhood piggy bank. It is rare enough to be impossible to find. And it is controversial enough that the U.S. Mint still refuses to authenticate them publicly because admitting the error would be admitting decades of quality control failures. That silence from the government, that creates the premium. You have three options today. Option 1, you do nothing. You ignore this video. You continue spending your quarters without looking. In 10 years, you will read a news article about a custodian in Kansas retiring on a 1992p quarter, and you will feel a cold spike of regret. Option 2. You spend the next 6 months obsessively hoarding every quarter you see, driving your family insane, and losing your job because you're weighing coins on a postal scale at 3 a.m. Option 3, the wise option, the collector's option. Go to your bank. Ask for a box of uncirculated quarters from 1992. Not 1993. Not 1991. 1992. The Philadelphia ones. Then buy a digital scale accurate to 0.01 grams. Cost? $40. Then spend 1 hour. Just 1 hour. Weigh each coin. Listen to each drop. If they ring like a bell, you are a millionaire. If they thud, you are out $40. That is the best asymmetric bet in numismatics today. Pattern interrupt number 3. Here's the humor you didn't expect. The irony is that the 1992p silver transitional quarter is so rare, the people who actually own one aren't looking for change. They have assistants to look for change. But you are still driving your own car. You are still getting your own coffee. That means you have access to the circulation pipeline. The rich can't find this coin because they never touch dirty money. You are literally closer to $1.2 million than a hedge fund manager. Sit with that paradox. Do not wait. The summer of 2026 is the 34th anniversary of this coin's minting. Every anniversary, the major auction houses, Heritage, Stack's Bowers, run modern rarity sales. The marketing machines are heating up. When a 1992p hits the block in a certified holder, the publicity will cause every non-collector to start hoarding. The coins still in circulation will vanish into safe deposit boxes. Your window of opportunity to find one in the wild closes a little more every day. If you find one, here is your roadmap. Do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not spend it. Send it to PCGS in California. Request, error attribution, transitional silver planchet. Pay for the 4-day express service. When they slab it, insure it for $1.5 million. Then call Ian Russell at Great Collections. Or call me. Figuratively. I don't have a phone line, but you get the urgency. You think the 1992p is elusive? You haven't heard about the 1983p Roosevelt dime struck on a copper-nickel planchet meant for a nickel. That error is so rare that only one certified example exists. It's called the double denomination ghost, and its potential value recently appraised at no. That's for next week. But before we go, I need you to look down at your left hand. Whatever object you are holding right now, a soda can, a remote control, your phone, ask yourself, is there a quarter underneath it? Go ahead. Look. If there is, flip it over. Read the date. If it says 1992, and you see a P, do not spend it. Do not pass go. Do not even breathe on it. You just found the ghost. Or you just found a beer token. Either way, you are now a collector. And collectors never look at pocket change the same way again. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. In the next video, I'm showing you the nickel that built a mansion.